Thanks, Heather. Thank you, Memo. Great conversation. We're going to switch from food to clothing. But really, what this is about is the circular economy and how increasingly companies are starting to understand that part of that is not just creating things that can be endlessly recycled, but also sourcing materials from waste streams. And this is a great story about how one company is sourcing materials from the world's poorest communities for some of the world's biggest companies. Before I bring Ian Rosenberger out to the stage, we're going to run a quick 2-minute video telling about his company, Thread.
I had the chance to go to Haiti after the earthquake in 2010. In addition to falling in love with the country, literally I wrote in my journal at the very beginning of this process, if Haiti could turn trash into money equals good. What we've found is poverty is not about the absence of money. It's about the absence of dignity. It starts with a job, with a dignified opportunity to go to work in the morning. My name is Ian Rosenberger, and I started Thread about 5 years ago. So we pull trash from the very poorest neighborhoods in the world and we turn it into fabric. Jobs cure poverty. This fabric creates jobs. It starts with a plastic bottle. From there, it's like crushed up, ground up, washed, turned into thread filament, and then finally woven into a canvas product when it comes to Timberland, and now they're on people's feet. Women working is really the heart of our work. Then there comes this like little Nancy who rolls through and starts rolling up super sacks with her name on them. And as time went on, she was building an empire.
Si les deux pas du sorti aujourd'hui, on chita la caille. Et puis tout ça fait me sentir plus à l'aise. C'est parce que moi que bien une série de clients, travailleurs, ils pas fait personne confiance que moi.
Showing people what that trash has turned into adds elegance and dignity to that work. We don't actually pick up waste. We make clothes for a living. These boots helped give somebody a job. That's the future of apparel. It has to be useful, it has to look awesome, and it also has to have purpose. Timberland's a brand that we know shares our values, but what's actually more important than that is the fact that their customers share our values too. From a bottle collector to a center owner to a washer to a yarn spinner and now to you. By just putting on your boots in the morning, you can make a difference in somebody else's life, and you can look damn good doing it.
Oh, there's a wall in front of me. How's everybody doing? Good. I'm Ian. I'm the CEO and founder of Thread. It's so good to be here. You have never been more important than you are right now. I was just talking to Joel backstage. It's remarkable to me the amount of swagger that the environmental and people who actually care about solving social problems these days are going to need to have in the next 4, hopefully not 8 years, in order to actually get things done. So please give yourselves a round of applause, because your jobs mean more now than they ever have before. I was a hippie in college. I played a lot of hacky sack, listened to a lot of Dave Matthews. And I actually never really understood until January 12th, 2010, that the environmental crisis is actually not at all about the ice caps or the polar bears. In fact, it's about people, and more precisely, it's about jobs. Because a lot of the impact that we have globally right now is coming and will come soon from the bottom 1 billion or 2 billion people on this earth. And this is not a battle of good versus evil, right? And I think a lot of times as environmental crusaders, we feel that way, that this isn't a battle of the good guys versus the bad guys. I learned, and my great idea was that this is actually a battle for hearts and minds. It's a battle of people trying to put food on the table. And I learned that from a guy named Mark Noel Adme. This is Mark Noel. I went to Haiti after the earthquake in 2010, and you heard it in the video. And I had the chance to see what an earthquake that was certainly one of the largest natural disasters in the Western Hemisphere's history can do to people that are already poor. What I saw there was crazy, a war zone. And the two things that I actually saw the most of on that first couple trips to Haiti were immense amounts of poverty. And Mark Noel was at the center of that. Mark Noel lives in one of the poorest neighborhoods in the world, a place called Cité Soleil. And also immense amounts of trash. I mean, millions and millions of tons of waste that's right now just pouring into the ocean. And by some accounts, about 10 or so aircraft carriers by weight each year going to the ocean from countries like Haiti, just because there is no infrastructure. I sought to figure out why that was happening, and what I realized is that there's just no money for that infrastructure. There's not a lot of jobs to go around. But Mark Noel taught me that the value of a job not only gives dignity, but gives agency to solve problems. And I started Thread around that idea. It's kind of a weird mashup, right? I have an environmental company, but we actually care more about actually putting the 3,000 people to work in the supply chains that we work with, because we know if we do that really, really well, that they're going to suck all the plastic up off the ground in places like Haiti and Honduras and Asia, where we're going into, and certainly Africa. To me, this is ground zero for the environmental crisis. I learned that from a really interesting story. Mark Noel, when I first met him, he came to me through a much longer story that I can certainly tell later. He came to me because his daughter, Ruth, was born without the ability to pee. As crazy as that sounds. For the first 2 years of her life, she was reprocessing her own urine. And the reason that she hadn't been seen by a doctor is because they didn't have any money to get seen by a doctor. So among one of my first trips in Haiti, I had the idea to go to a women's clinic in Las Cajobas, Haiti, which is right near the Dominican border. And they told me there that Ruth was going to need a really extensive surgery. And I'd already helped another kid down there, and it had cost us a couple $100,000 that my friends and I had raised and put together. And I didn't think we were able to raise that $100,000 again. There was just a lot of tiredness around raising money for Haiti at the time. My friends and I decided to take Ruth to another clinic not too far from the first one that we went to, and asked the doctors if they could just take a look at this little girl who hadn't had the ability to pee. And over the course of a 2 or 3 minute examination, they realized that they could do a procedure right there in the office that would cost no money and that would save Ruth's life. And it was that moment for me that kind of solidified the idea of access when it comes to things like poverty. So after Ruth's procedure, on the way home, she peed for the very first time. And for medicine that cost about $10 in follow-up, she's now a very happy, healthy 6-year-old, which is very cool and certainly something that we're really proud of. At the time, when I was working with families in my first couple of trips to Haiti, one of the principles that we kept coming up against is that if we didn't stick with the poor until they didn't need us anymore, that things like helping Ruth were for naught, right? Because the families that we serve were just going to go back to the same cycle of poverty that we were in to begin with. So after Ruth's procedure, we got together with Mark Noel, and we asked him what it was that he needed. You know, what do you need in order to get out of where you're going right now? And he surprised me by saying, I need a driver's license. And I was like, really? That's what you need? He's like, if I can drive a tap-tap, which is the local form of communication in Haiti, if I could drive a tap-tap every day, I can make enough money to feed my family, but I don't have the money for a driver's license. And I said, well, what's a driver's license cost? He said, well, it costs about $10 if it's legal, and about $200 if you bribe somebody. So I was like, well, here's $200. Go get a driver's license because you can get it much faster that way. So I gave Mark Noel $200, and I gave him my phone number as well. And we began what has been a hilarious friendship that I will soon make into a one-act play called Texts from Mark Noel. Because if you've never had a Haitian text you who's never texted before, I promise you it's an exercise in hilarity. I would get texts from Mark Noel that sounded something like this, in all caps. Hello, Ian, this is Mark Noel. I have the money for the driver's license. I'm going tomorrow. Please grade your staff for me. He thought I had a staff, and great was thank you, right? Please grade your staff for me. So over the course of 10 or so days, Mark Noel, he starts sending me these texts, and eventually he gets to a point where he's ready. He has the driver's license, and he's ready to go. So I decided on my next trip to Haiti that I was going to ask Mark Noel to drive for me. Now, I drive for the most part when I'm down there, but for this particular instance, just to kind of get his legs going, get him started, I decided that I would ask him to drive. So I show up at his house in the morning. I actually drove the car to his house. And all his kids, his 6 kids, and 3 kids that he adopted after the earthquake that killed his brother. His 6 kids and his wife were all sitting there wide-eyed and expectant that Mark Noel was going to work for the first time. And his wife had given him a haircut, and he had a brand new shirt on and a tie with a tie clip, and he's just sweating. He's so nervous. So we get into the car, and we're going to prepare to drive around for the entire day. And what I realized immediately upon entering the car was that I had never asked Mark Noel if actually he knew how to drive, which in hindsight was a critical step to this whole process. And I also realized that Mark Noel, if he'd ever driven before, had only driven a standard transmission with a stick. So he got into the car, and the car that I was driving was an automatic. So he got into the car, and we just kind of made our way across Port-au-Prince all day. The day was highlighted by a couple of things. We only hit 2 people, which, I thought was okay. They were okay. And at one point, we went straight through a red light. And I said, Mark Noel, you just went straight through a red light. And he goes, it's not for me. But Mark, at the end of the day, I had my hand on the handle all day long, right? Kind of like this. At the end of a very trying day, we circle back to Mark Noel's house, and it comes time to part ways and also to pay him. And so I pay him with a going rate for a driver in Haiti for the day, and he just looks at me, doesn't say anything. And he puts it in his pocket, and we walk into his house, and his family is in the exact same spot they were when I left. All of them, 10 people sitting around, wide-eyed, ready to ask their dad about his day at work that day. And he walks in, and he's a pretty quiet guy, but he walks in and he looks at all of them, and he says, tonight we eat. Your father worked today. And it was at that moment that the environmental crisis shifted for me, not from a crisis of polar bears, but a crisis of people. And that if we're able to put the poorest 2 billion people to work in the next 2 years, business, green business, has the opportunity to not only save people like Mark Noel, but save the entire world. Thank you so much.